What's happening, people? I hope you're all well. So there's three fights I quickly want to cover. And the first one I'm going to cover is the return of Alen Babic versus Steve Robinson, who's also making his return. Both fighters, I believe, are coming off losses. If I quickly just flip up the box rec of Steve Robinson, just to make sure that that is correct. I believe he lost his last fight. And Alen Babic, obviously, as we know, lost his last fight in devastating fashion by first round stoppage. Now, there you go. Steve Robinson lost his last fight against Ignatius. I saw some of that fight. Now, both fighters are crude. Both fighters are not the tidiest. But you know what? Sometimes those fights make for the most competitive fights. Now, let's get into the tail of the tape here. Alen Babic was going through opponents like a knife through butter. Now, he did struggle a few times, and you could see that there were signs that he was eventually going to come unstuck, because he's very crude, he's very wild, but at the same time, he looks to carry some punch power. Now, I'm going to actually say something that is maybe a bit out there for some. I noticed Alen Babic before his fight against Lucas Rozansky. He got some wide tattoo along his chest. And I know it's going to sound really strange to some, but I think that these things can actually affect your hormones. I think those type of things can actually affect your hormones. And I actually think that those type of things can actually drain you a little bit. And sometimes if your testosterone is affected by certain things, it actually can take something away from you. So I'm not dismissing the possibility that his energy levels were affected by that tattoo. I know it's a crazy thing for people to think, but you have to understand that your brain is like a sponge and it takes things in, and it obviously you send messages to your brain and then your brain sends another message back. So, and that ends up being the result. I know it sounds crazy, but you know, things like dyes and tattoos and things like that, they can actually impact you, especially maybe if it's new as well. But anyway, that aside, Alen Babic went in there and got knocked out by Lucas Rozansky in a round. And in all fairness, that was always going to happen at some point, but many people weren't expecting that to be against Lucas Rozansky. Now, the next one, obviously, Steve Robinson. You know, Steve Robinson, he I don't know, like he had some sort of support over in the north of England, and he lost the fight that he really wasn't supposed to lose against a guy, I believe, with a white collar background. I believe his second name was Barlow. He lost the fight against a really unheralded opponent that he was supposed to win. And since then, he's gone on to not look impressive at all. Although he did beat, what's his name? Nick Campbell, who is a fellow prospect. And that was a fight, I believe, that he was really losing. And then he went in there against Frank Ignatius and lost that fight. So things haven't really gone well for Steve Robinson since turning over as a pro, truth be told. But on the other hand, you can say that he can punch. I would say that Alen Babic can punch. But really, this fight for me is a toss-up. I see Alen Babic is 5-1 on. I don't see it like that. I see it more as a 50-50, to be honest with you. Maybe slightly leaning towards Alen Babic. The next one that I want to talk about is the return of the juggernaut, Joyce. He's going to be returning against Kash Ali. And I believe that this fight right here is a fight in which I believe this fight here with Joe Joyce and Kash Ali, yes, it's a fight that Joe Joyce is expected to win, but we need to really look at things, because how much does Joe Joyce have left? People, when Anthony Joshua lost, people were always going on about what has he got left? Should he retire? No one's asking these questions about Joe Joyce. Now, granted, Joe Joyce is not as known as Anthony Joshua, so the sort of detailed analysis may not be as succinct and as intricate, but I'm asking the question, how much has Joe Joyce got left? Joe Joyce got stopped for the first time against Zhilei Zhang, and then he got stopped in devastating fashion earlier a second time against Zhilei Zhang. How does that affect him mentally? How does that affect him punch resistance wise? You know, what is his punch resistance like? These are the questions that I want to know, because those are two key points, and plus his age as well. So I'm not going to just assume with complete, I'm not just going to assume that Joe Joyce is exactly the same as when he fought Joseph Parker. He probably isn't. So I expect him to beat Kash Ali. Kash Ali, you know, he's well schooled, but he is limited. He doesn't seem to possess the most punching power, and he recently lost to the guy that just lost to Nathan Gorman. I know styles make fights, but I'm really expecting. I expect Kash Ali to have some success in this fight early on, but I expect Joe Joyce to, you know, in his old style, just walking down. I don't think Kash Ali has the power to do what Zhili Zhang did, but moving forward from that, I don't really have the same confidence in Joe Joyce, and I think rightly so. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with Joe Joyce if he continues to ply his trade after assumingly beating Kash Ali. I'm thinking of matchups with Joe Joyce. I know Boxing Squared mentioned the possibility of Joe Joyce versus Jarrell Miller. I think that'd be a very interesting fight because both have similar styles and both are coming off losses when they made their step up. But either way, I'm going to now switch gears to the final fight, and that is the announcement of Jack Catterall versus Josh Taylor 2. And that fight is really, and by the way, I covered this fight in my sports betting channel. I'll leave a link for that in the description if any of you are into gambling and looking at potential outcomes and maximizing profit. But from a boxing standpoint, Jack Catterall vs Joe Joyce is an intriguing one. Obviously, many people believe that Jack Catterall won handedly the first time. I'm going to go out there and say I think Jack Catterall won. Most people thought Jack Catterall won. This is Josh Taylor's chance of redemption. But can he really get redemption? Because I believe this fight right here, he didn't look good the first time. And a lot of that, I believe, was down to the weight. Is he going to make the weight better now? I don't think so. This is 2 years on. Also, Josh Taylor lost to Teofimo Lopez in his last bout. Jack Catterall is a very unspectacular looking guy, but sometimes it's those guys who can get you. And I believe that perhaps it's very, very possible that Jack Catterall just has Josh Taylor's number. If Josh Taylor loses this one, it could very well be the end. But I'm not counting Josh Taylor out of this one either. So that is a fight I'll cover in more detail as it comes up. I'm really looking forward to that one. So what do you guys make of the fights that I spoke about? Let me know. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment, hit the notification bell so you get a notification. Oh, that's it. You know when you swallow it the wrong way. Anyway, like the video, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment, hit the notification bell so you get a notification when I make a new video. If you appreciate my work, then feel free to leave a donation. There's also a link for that in the description. And with that, enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll see you on the next video.